Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I'll be going through all of my pickups for the month of April 2022. So yeah, there is quite a lot of titles to get through, so I am just going to get straight into it. So the first one I will quickly show you is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, the 4K Arrow limited edition box set. Yeah, I'm not going to go through this box set too much because I did do an unboxing video a few weeks ago, so if you want to check that video out, I will leave a link in the description below. But yeah, that is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. So last month I indulged in the indicator sale that they had going on and I picked up a few titles from that. I did do a video on what I got, so again I will leave a link in the description for that video. But I ended up picking up a couple of other titles. Now this first one is a limited edition, but it's actually out of print and I was able to get it for a pretty decent price on eBay. And it is The Border, starring Jack Nicholson. And it's probably one of Jack Nicholson's more, well, lesser known movies. He plays like a border patrol guard, kind of like a sympathetic character who's trying to help this woman who has kind of lost her child during the whole immigration process. And yeah, like I said, it's one of Jack Nicholson's probably more lesser known movies, but I thought it was pretty good, pretty underrated at that. Yeah, that is The Border. And the other indicated title that I picked up was Geronimo, An American Dream. Yeah, this is directed by Walter Hill and it's kind of what sold me into getting it, but it's also got a really good cast. You've got Jason Patric, Robert Duvall, Gene Hackman, you've even got a young Matt Damon in there, and it's kind of about the Apache Wars during like the American Civil War, so it's kind of like a war movie / western, but it's a really underrated movie and I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah, great story, great cast, and yeah, just really enjoyable overall. But yeah, that is Geronimo, An American Legend. I picked this next one up mainly to upgrade it to my DVD. This is one of my favorite movies. I think it's fantastic, and it is The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. Yeah, this is like a western starring Brad Pitt and Casey Affleck. They put in really good performances, beautiful cinematography by Roger Deakins, and yeah, it's just a fantastic film. It is quite long, it can be a bit slow in places, but I just think it's beautiful and it's been one of my favorites ever since I saw it back in 2007, 2008. And yeah, I just wanted to upgrade it and I found it in CEX for, I think it was £1. So yeah, happy to have that in the collection. Next up, we've got Final Score. So I picked this one up in HMV. It was, they're having like a sale at the moment on kind of like a bunch of random titles basically. And yeah, this one, I think it was £2.50 or maybe £3. But I remember this movie coming out and seeing all the promotions for it. It's kind of basically like Die Hard or Sudden Death in a football stadium, and you've got Dave Bautista. But I think the main selling point for me was Pierce Brosnan. I do really like Pierce Brosnan. I like him in other movies other than his Bond movies. He did another movie quite recently, well, around the same time as this, called The Foreigner with Jackie Chan, which I thought was a brilliant movie. So yeah, I kind of just picked this up on the strength of that. I'm not really expecting much, but for £2.50 or £3, whatever it was, you can't really argue. But yeah, that is Final Score. Next, we've got The Flintstones. Now, I know this movie is not really very well liked, but I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. This was the first movie I ever saw in the cinema. I was either 3 or 4 years old, and I can remember my mum saying to me, "Do you want to go to the pictures?" Because here in the UK, we used to call the cinema or the movie theatre, we used to call it the pictures for some reason. And I remember her saying, "Do you want to go to the pictures to see the Flintstones?" And at the time, I didn't understand what she meant. I thought I was going to be going to like a museum and looking at pictures of the Flintstones or something. But then obviously it was the cinema and I saw the movie. So yeah, I do just have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. I know a lot of people don't really like it. It is a flawed movie, I will give it that. But I think nostalgia is a very powerful thing when it comes to movies and movies that you grew up with. So yeah, I'll always treasure this movie despite its reputation. But yeah, that is The Flintstones. Next up, we've got Kill List. This is kind of like a British crime sort of thriller. It kind of starts off that way, but then towards the end it becomes more of a horror movie, and it's directed by Ben Wheatley, who is a director I've been getting into recently. And yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It's quite dark, it's quite brutal, but the end is really cool and it was definitely my kind of thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. That is Kill List. Next up, we've got Mama. So I picked this one up mainly because Guillermo del Toro is kind of associated with it. I know he produced it, he didn't direct it. And I'm always on the lookout for other horror movies that I haven't seen because I do like my horror movies. And overall, I think this movie, it was okay. I think the problem I had with it, I think it kind of suffers the same problems that a lot of modern horror movies have, is that they start off pretty well. They have like a good solid build up, like nice build up of suspense, but when it gets to the finale, it all kind of falls apart. I feel like a lot of modern day horror movies they all suffer from that same thing, and yeah, Mama is no exception. But I did like parts of it. Jessica Chastain's really good in it. There's a good atmosphere, but yeah, the ending is not that great, and the CGI is definitely a little bit shoddy. But you know, it was only £2 and I thought it was worth a watch. But yeah, that is Mama. Next up, we've got Raging Bull. So yeah, I saw this movie, I think it was probably about 11, 12 years ago. And I remember at the time I didn't really like it. I don't know what it was, I just couldn't gel with it. But I'd never had it in the collection, and I saw it in CEX for a decent price, and I thought I'd give it another go. I do like Martin Scorsese, I do like Robert De Niro, but I'm happy to say that I did enjoy it a lot more this time round. I think maybe I was just a bit too young when I watched it, but no, yeah, it is a fantastic film, and there isn't really much more that needs to be said about it. Next up, we've got Sexy Beast, starring Ray Winston and Ben Kingsley. That's it. Yeah, this movie was pretty good. Ben Kingsley's great in it. Plays like a really sort of funny but kind of unnerving character. I did feel that when his character disappeared, the movie wasn't quite as good after that, but I still really enjoyed it for what it was. I know a lot of people really love this movie, and yeah, it is an enjoyable one. It's pretty short, it moves along pretty fast, and yeah, I can't really say much more than that. That is Sexy Beast. Next up, we've got Twins. I picked this up mainly just to upgrade it from my existing DVD. I found this in CEX for, I think it was £5. This still goes for like $15.99 or something in HMV, and I was just not willing to pay that price, especially when the Blu-ray, the quality is not that great. I mean, it is an improvement over the Blu-ray, but it's not a massive improvement, I will be honest. But yeah, I'm happy to have it on Blu-ray. I love this movie. Another sort of childhood staple of mine. Just a lot of fun, funny movie. It's got a lot of heart. Silly concept, but still just really enjoyable. But that is Twins. Next up, I've got a 4K, and it is Rambo Last Blood. So again, I picked this one up in the HMV sale. It was down to £10, and I was kind of always waiting for this to go down in price because I'm not the biggest fan of this movie, I will admit. I do love the Rambo franchise, but this one was a bit of a disappointment for me. But I got it just because I've got the other ones on 4K. They've all got slip covers, so this one does as well. So I got it mainly just to complete the collection. I will give it another go, of course, but yeah, at the moment, I think this movie's okay, but it could have been better. Right, next up, we've got another 4K, and this is from the MCU franchise. Now, anyone who knows me will know that I'm not really the biggest fan of the MCU. I enjoy the movies, but I don't really get that much excitement out of them, I will admit. But this is one movie from the franchise that I did really enjoy, and I can see myself coming back to it quite a lot. And I found it in CEX. It's a 4K. It's got a mint condition slipcover, and it was only £8, and I thought, yeah, let's get it. So it is Avengers Infinity War. Yeah, I think this is probably the best of the franchise, of the whole franchise. I mean, I've not seen every movie from the franchise, but this, for me, is my favourite. It's kind of like The Empire Strikes Back of the franchise. You've kind of got all your characters like split up, different storylines going on. It's a bit darker in tone. You've got a villain who essentially wins in the end. So it kind of has all those sort of hallmarks, like those classic hallmarks from Empire Strikes Back. And that's probably another reason why I really like it. But yeah, that is Avengers Infinity War on 4K. Got another 4K here, and this is one I said I would never buy. I said I would always wait for the standard edition. But I think it was after watching Andy at Forgotten World at Movies and possibly Big Paulie as well. I think they talked about this release, and I thought, you know what, I've got to get it. And there were still copies of it available on online at HMV, so I got it. And it is The Green Mile, the HMV limited edition 4K box set. Yeah, I don't really need to talk about this movie too much. fantastic, one of my favorites. Loved it for many years. And yeah, this 4K release is great. You get the booklet, box, the poster, sorry, and all that good stuff. And transfer is great. So yeah, that is The Green Mile on 4K. I got a few from the second sight sale that they were having in HMV a bit earlier in the month. And the first one I've got is a movie called Heaven's Gate. Now this is a movie I had been wanting to see for years. This movie is very notorious and kind of the stuff of legend because it went massively over budget when it was in production, and it came out and it was one of the biggest box office flops of all time, and critics absolutely savaged it. And the director of the movie, Michael Cimino, it basically ruined his career. He'd been on a high with The Deer Hunter, and he was basically given free rein to do whatever he wanted next, and he made this movie and it just destroyed his career. But I think it's one of those movies where the sort of the production history of it and the release history is more interesting than the actual film. I enjoyed the movie. I think it's pretty good. Very flawed, very long movie, probably a bit too long, but it's got a good cast. You've got like Chris Christopherson, you've got John Hurt, Brad Dourif, you've even got Jeff Bridges in there, and yeah, it's just a pretty decent Western. Like I said, it is flawed, but I had to see it just because the movie has become kind of the stuff of legend, but it is considered a bit of a cult movie these days. But yeah, that is Heaven's Gate. Next one from the second sight sale I've got is Streets of Fire, again directed by Walter Hill. Yeah, this is a really weird movie, kind of like an action thriller sort of, but it's described down here as being a rock and roll fable, and I can kind of see where they're going with that. It's got some really great music in it, not like very well known songs, but really good songs, and you've got like sort of the opening and closing of the movie. It's bookended by some two really great pieces of music. And yeah, like I said, it's a weird movie, but it is an enjoyable one and definitely an experience. You've got some strange casting choices in here. You've got Rick Moranis in there, kind of playing a serious character. Like, it's weird seeing him not playing like a comedic character. But yeah, overall, it's an enjoyable one. It's an experience. But yeah, that is Streets of Fire. And then the last one from the second sight sale I have here is another movie directed by Walter Hill, and it's now probably become my favourite Walter Hill movie, and it is Southern Comfort. Yeah, this is basically about a group of soldiers who are on a training exercise down in Louisiana, I think it is, and so they're kind of like in the bayou and like the swamps on a training exercise, but then they find themselves, well, they get lost, and then they find themselves basically being hunted by like the local Cajun settlers, and they kind of have to fight for survival. And yeah, it's kind of got like it's got sort of like Predator vibes, and there's even like a bit of the Warriors in there, but just a real tense movie, really suspenseful. It's got a great cast, like no A-listers, but you know, you've got people like Keith Carradine, Powers Booth, Fred Ward. You've even got Brian James in there as one of the villains. But yeah, I loved this movie, and this is one I would definitely recommend to anyone who hasn't seen it. That is Southern Comfort. Next up, I've got one from the HMV Premium Collection, and I found this one in CEX, and it is Badlands. So this is a movie starring Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek, basically about a couple who, they kind of go on the run. Martin Sheen's like a criminal, and he kind of just brings Sissy Spacek along with him, who has fallen in love with him. I thought the movie was okay. I wasn't totally enamored with it, but I enjoyed it for what it was, and yeah, I think I only paid about £5 or £6 for it in CEX. It's got the premium slip and all that, so yeah, I was happy with that. But the movie was okay, but maybe on rewatch it will be better. But that is Badlands. Next up, we've got the two latest Eureka releases, the Hong Kong action movies that they do, and we've got Knockabout and Dreadnought. So yeah, these are two movies that they both star Yuen Biao, who is kind of like considered part of the Three Brothers alongside Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung. This one is also directed by Sammo Hung and actually stars Sammo Hung as well. And yeah, I mean, if you like your Hong Kong action movies from this era, you'll probably know what you're getting yourself into. I love all of them. I love the ones that Eureka release. 88 films, I've been collecting them all. So yeah, I just had to add these two to the collection, and I had a lot of fun with them. Great martial arts, great comedy. just a lot of fun. So lastly now, I've just got a few from the Arrow sale that I think is still currently going on. But the first one I've got here is a movie called Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. So yeah, this is a movie that directed by Sam Peckinpah, and I actually didn't realize it was directed by him, but yeah, this was a great movie. It's basically about a guy called Alfredo Garcia who he like impregnates the daughter of a crime boss, and the crime boss basically puts a price on his head. And you have a character played by Warren Oates, who is like, he's kind of like a down on his luck piano player. He just works at like a CD bar playing piano, and he basically decides he wants a bit of that action. He wants to claim the reward, but he's like a character who's, you know, he's way out of his depth. He has no experience in this kind of, this kind of thing, but decides to give it a go anyway. And yeah, it's just really, really good. Great sort of gritty Sam Peckinpah action, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. But that is Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. Next from the Arrow sale, we have The Grand Duel, starring Lee Van Cleef. Yeah, I like Lee Van Cleef. I like my spaghetti westerns, so 2 and 2 together, it's a winning combination. And this movie's fun. It's got some really wild action scenes, especially in the opening scene. Some pretty crazy stunts going on in that scene, but yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. If you like your spaghetti westerns, I'm sure you'll like this one, but that is The Grand Duel. Next up, we have Deadbeat at Dawn. So yeah, I picked this up mainly for the title, mainly for the artwork, but this is kind of like a revenge movie, but really interesting film. I think I've read that the director of this movie, he was attending film school, and he basically left halfway through and used the rest of his student loan to pay for this movie, for the budget. And yeah, it's a very cheap looking movie. It doesn't really work in a lot of places, but it's worth watching just for the final 10 minutes because there's like a real bloody battle. Very violent, very gory, but some of the stuff they were able to do on the budget that they had for this movie is quite amazing. And yeah, that ending is probably worth watching alone. The rest of the movie is a bit up and down, but just watch it for the ending. That is Deadbeat at Dawn. Next, we have another spaghetti western, and this one stars Franco Nero, and it is called Texas Adios. I really enjoyed this one. I like Franco Nero. I think he always plays a good hero. He's got that sort of Clint Eastwood vibe. And I thought this was just fantastic, really underrated. If you like your spaghetti westerns, this is one I would definitely recommend. Next up, we've got probably my film of the month, probably the film I enjoyed the most from April, and it is a movie called Dinner in America. Yeah, I had been wanting to get this film since Arrow announced it. I was always intrigued by it, but I wanted to wait until it went down in a sale. So I picked it up, and yeah, this is just a fantastic film. Two very unconventional leads. They're not the most attractive looking people, they're not even the most likable characters, but somehow you do like them in the end. You do kind of get on board with their story. And yeah, I just thought this movie was a lot of fun, really funny in places, really touching, and just had a blast when I watched it. Still a very recent movie. I think it only came out in 2020, but yeah, I love it. I feel like it has that sort of like cult kind of vibe, and I feel like maybe one day it will be considered like a cult movie. But yeah, I loved it. That is Dinner in America. And the last one is Major Dundee, the limited edition box set. Yeah, ever since Arrow announced this, I had always wanted to get it. I just love the artwork on it. Another movie directed by Sam Peckinpah. This one stars Charlton Heston and Richard Harris. Yeah, it's basically another sort of Civil War Western type movie. I feel like I've got quite a lot of Western Civil War movies this month. But yeah, this is a pretty good movie. Definitely flawed in places. I know it had a bit of a difficult production, but this box set is beautiful. It's got like digipacks in it, which is something Arrow haven't done for a long time, but really, really nice set. My good friend Pete, Playtendo guy, he did an unboxing for it, so I will leave a link in the description below for his video. Go and check it out because it's a great video and he's got a great channel. But yeah, like I said, it's just a beautiful release, and yeah, the film is pretty good at that. But that is Major Dundee. So there you go, guys. Those are my pickups for the month of April 2022. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these movies. I would love to hear your thoughts on them. But until then, guys, I will hopefully see you all again very soon. So, yep, take care.